So, good morning. I am actually going to try to narrate over an existing video that I made yesterday. This video is all about the process of taking a CAD drawing and converting it or building on top of it a 3D model in SketchUp, like a massing model that could then be manipulated. And this is just my process of going through that and the various steps that I take along the way, all the way from CAD, which I still draw in 2004 at the office. So what I'll do is launch 2004. As you know, this has smart walls and windows and doors, so all those components have to be gathered up together and broken down to more simplistic forms when you bring them into SketchUp. So that'll be the first thing that I do with this plan. So I have the plan here. If I zoom in to this area, oh yeah, first thing you want to do is save this drawing as something else because we're about to completely destroy this drawing. So I will usually create a new folder and then I will save the file as exploded or something like that. That way I know it's pretty much a destroyed AutoCAD file and I'm not messing up my file that I want to be able to have all the windows and doors in. So you'll want to type AEC OBJ explode. So that's AEC OBJ explode. When you do that, what it does is converts all the walls, doors, and windows to blocks, basically. So you can see they no longer clean up, things like that in the walls. So then you want to explode. So type explode all and explode everything. This is getting the plan file down to its basic 2D elements. And so I usually run through that process twice, exploding everything again. So now you're down to just the very basic line work of the two-dimensional drawing. So with this, I will save it. And then for now, you're done with your CAD work. So because I use the free version of SketchUp, I have to go all the way back to SketchUp 7 to actually import DWG files. So I'll do File, Import, and bring that exploded CAD file in. So this takes a little bit of rendering processing time. That pops up. Close that, and then the drawing's there. So if you zoom out, you'll see the complete CAD file that you imported. So there's a lot of extra stuff in this drawing. But I've got the elevations surrounding the plan, existing and new elevations because it's a renovation. One thing I'll do is turn off all the profile edges, the extension endpoints, things like that in the styles. That way the drawing loads really quickly. and then I'll delete all this extra information that I'm not going to be working with. I could have done this in the CAD file previously, but to tell you the truth, I just didn't even think about it. Of course, you just want to make sure you do this to your saved as file as opposed to your old full version file. I usually like to move this from that location closer to the origin of the drawing, but I think for some reason this is hanging up with the amount of information, so I'm probably just gonna not worry about that. So I'll take these elevations that I don't need and go ahead and delete those. Since we're building the new model, I don't need the as-built existing elevations. Or this section. But I'm going to leave that anyway. Get some little extra detail stuff out of this plan. And then I'll highlight the entire plan and right click on it and say make group. That turns all the plan line work into a group object. So I can begin drawing on top of this plan without the plan trying to clean up to the new objects that I'm drawing on top of. There we go. So I'll do the same thing for the elevations. Go ahead and delete that section. And last elevation, I'm going to make a group. Okay, so now I got all the plans and elevations as separate groups. So I'm going to take this elevation and rotate it on the red axis up. And then I'll do the same for this elevation. If you hold down Shift, it'll hold your axis, your rotation axis down, so you can go find the axis you want and off in the distance. Hold down Shift and move it to a point where you can click and rotate. So now they're all rotated along that same ground plane line. So now I can start drawing out boxes to make up this plan. And I'm not worried about the thickness of the walls or anything like that because this is just an exterior massing model. So I only draw the exterior line work. I'm just going to focus on this one corner of the building. And I'll pull this up to the bearing line. I'll select that face and do select all connected and then make it a group. So every object that I build, I will turn into a group like this. I don't want to have any objects in the model cleaning up with other objects. I want to be able to edit them all independently. And you can see I will snap to the elevations because I've already constructed these elevations, so I know they're fairly accurate. So what I'll do is I'll just continue pulling up things and snapping back to the elevations that are shown on the actual elevation. It's a quick way to, instead of having to remeasure everything, you've got your elevations and you're just measuring off reference points to make the model. You can actually draw on top of the elevations as well to create surfaces and then extrude this back onto the plan. And then of course select all and make it to a group. So I know which view that I'm going to have. I'm going to have a view from this side. So I'm just building things that are visible from this angle here. Focus only on the stuff that's going to be in the view, but build it so that you can potentially add on to the model easily later. So know this is a little open service yard here, so I'm going to make this wall. Then I'll build out the other adjacent walls next to it in a minute. First make this a group. Do a couple of things with the site here. Just very quick, rough site work. You can see, like, if I would have kept that little patio out the front doors, if I would have kept that ungrouped when I drew this site, everything would have been trying to clean up with this new line work, and would have made this more difficult. So sometimes you run into cases where there's a little bit of overlap and you've got to go in there and clean that up. So now I can indicate that this is sloping away. Delete that old line. reverse the faces, because you don't want that back side of the face to show. You want, from your vantage point, to have all the white faces at this point. So now would probably be a good time to go ahead and save if you haven't already. So this is one area where I know that they're changing something. They're going to take these double columns and make them a single column. So I'm going to pull this roof, flat roof portion over, and then I'm just going to make that a group after I clean it up a little bit. And then I'll make the new column up underneath this roof. These bases are going to be 20 by 20. And they're going to be the same height they were, so I could pull that back to the height that I had them in the elevations. Make them group. And then I'm going to offset them. I know that they need to be offset roughly 3 inches. And I'm going to create a 12 by 12 post on top. I could have made these columns into a component and just built it once, but since it's such a small thing, I decided to just copy it over and not worry about having to make an actual component out of it. So we're starting to get some form out of this. Pull this rake out 12 inches. Make everything a group. Select all connected, make group. Just need to build the rest of this roof here. It's just why it's good to have really detailed elevations that are accurate, because you'll find where things are inaccurate when you start to actually project stuff for your model. And if you have the CAD files, then making the model is much easier. One trick I've found with making massing models is that you can actually steal some of the line work from the CAD elevation. So I will take a little piece of this copy it, paste it in the same place, and then make that a group and move it over and directly paste it to the front of the building. So you get some of that detail without having to actually model it in 3D. You would only do this if you knew you were not going to eventually need the actual depth of the windows and doors. This just gives you a feel for what it's going to look like without having to model all the information. So it looks like you've got some detail in there, even though all you did was just copy and paste some of the elevation information. So I'm going to add a little cap to this, offset it an inch, 2 inches, and project it down a little bit, a couple inches. And of course, make that a group. So I'm going to start building some of these trellis members, the whole reason for developing this model, now that I've got the form of the actual building. So I'm going to start building this trellis, and then just going through the same method that I've been showing, where you work between plan, elevation, and continue to group everything. So now you can turn the shadows on and start to see a little bit of detail, but still massing model format. Gives you just a little idea of how to take CAD drawings and quickly build an exterior massing of those drawings. So I hope this was helpful, and from here, of course, you can export images for your client and show them what a certain area is going to look like pretty much in, that took what, 20, no, sorry, about an hour, under an hour. There's people that are faster, I'm sure, but this was working at a good steady pace. For about an hour you can develop a model that looks like this. Hope that was helpful, and I'd like to see what you're working on.